Hey friend, support this podcast by leaving a 5-star rating and review in Apple iTunes. And you can also do that now in Spotify and leave 5 stars for Infertility And Me podcast. This will just help increase our show's ranking and reach so that we can continue to reach more people and more friends who may be silently suffering with infertility too. Now, let's get into the episode. You guys, welcome to Infertility and Me podcast. You guys. If this is your first time listening to the pod, I'm so freaking sorry because I am just too hyped. I'm too pumped up and it's crazy right now. It's so crazy. I'm total shock and disbelief, you guys. If you don't follow on Instagram, you may not know it yet, but you will soon because I'm about to tell you. So, welcome you guys to an impromptu bonus episode that I wasn't expecting to do this week because we're now on a bi-weekly schedule instead of a weekly release schedule unless I record an extra episode and I don't want to wait. So, yes, this is the second week in a row. Well, technically 3 weeks in a row now. We've had an episode every week, but we're still on bi-weekly schedule. Just want to put that out there. Anyway, you guys, I'm so freaking pumped. I'm so elated to tell you guys that this show, our show, Infertility and Me, is now currently featured on Apple Podcasts' new and noteworthy category. Okay, so when you first go on Apple Podcasts and you go to the browse section, they have all of these shows that they recommend. Usually they're mostly big shows and or indie shows who have become big. And they're celebrity hosted and public figure hosted and all that such, right? So your girl, Monique Farouk, Little Old Me, the podcast featured on New and Noteworthy. I can't even talk, you guys. I'm so freaking excited. I don't even know what to do with myself. Let me tell you how it all went down, okay? Let me tell you how it all went down. Last Thursday or Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, there was an influx of episode downloads, and it was more than what we normally would get in one day. So I'm like, what's going on? Either everybody really liked the last episode with Kimberly Gowdy or something else is happening. So the next couple of days, Thursday and Friday go by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, every day we got this influx of listenership, and I just can't figure it out. And I go on Chartable, and I think I posted on Saturday that we were top 100 for all podcasts in the personal journals, society and culture section of Apple Podcasts. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, that's crazy. We've never been in top 100. I've only ever been in top 200 in the past. I was exactly 100, you guys. Crazy. The very last show in the 100 spot for personal journals in the United States. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So I shared in stories with everybody and stuff. And then yesterday I'm at my mom and dad's house for our weekly Sunday get together, right? And so I checked Chartable again to see if we were still charting in 100 over the weekend. We're still charting. But then we're at number freaking 70. We went up 30. Okay. And that's crazy. Went up 30 more spots. And then I'm like, what is going on? Like, I had done some advertising like a month ago, but this is crazy. What's going on? So I had like this strange inkling, feeling, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, something is happening. Somebody either shared my show or what's going on. So I check I got this feeling like, let me go on Apple iTunes and see if I got a new review or something like that. Like maybe somebody famous or something like just started listening and they shared the show or something. I don't know. So I go on Apple Podcasts, and so I get this nudge in my spirit, like, go to the browse section. So I go to the browse section. I'm scrolling down, looking at the new shows, seeing if something catches my eye. I get down to New and Noteworthy, and I'm just scrolling along. Like I swiped once or twice, and there I was. There she was. There it was. Infertility and Me podcast. I just can't even freaking believe it, you guys. I was totally effing speechless. I'm still kind of speechless, but I'm just boiling over with so much joy for the podcast and for infertility awareness and the exposure that we're getting right now. It's insane. So hopefully, got my fingers crossed, some great things come out of this for the community. Maybe I'll be able to connect with some people in the higher up hierarchies of journalism or whatever to get more exposure. That would be amazing. So you guys, just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all the downloads. Thank you for listening. Thank you for rocking with your girls for 2.5 years. And if you're new, I hope that you stick around. I hope you stick around. And thank you to all of our guests who have been on the show as well. I cannot say it enough. You guys have no idea how much the community means to me and what building this community means to me as well. Do join the Patreon community. By joining the Patreon community, you will be supporting the work of this podcast, the advocacy work of this podcast, as well as gaining access to private community. So it's not all about me. You will also get something in return. And after 3 consecutive cycles of you being a subscribed community member, you will get a special gift. So I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. Okay. I do have a bonus episode today that is a rewind of a former episode from a long time ago, episode 33, entitled Infertility Cannot Silence Me. And it's with Olajumoke Iba. She was a guest from Nigeria, and she went through so much loss. And she shares her story through medicated cycles, miscarriage, 3 IVF treatment cycles that were unsuccessful, and the difficult decision that her and her husband made to be childless, not by choice, by circumstance. And so I am not going to make this episode all about me. If you're here for inspiration, I'm glad that you have tuned into today's episode. So now you'll hear Ola's episode that I did with her. Thank you guys so much for everything. You're thebomb.com. Cannot do it without you. Love you guys. Here's Ola.
Thank you so much, dear, for coming on today. And just tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you and your husband have been married and such.
My name is Olajumoke. I've been married to my husband for almost 6 years. July will make it 6 years that we've been together, that we've been married officially, basically. I've been trying to have a child from the minute we got married, because I got married at the age of 33. I was 34 the very next month after I got married. So I knew that I didn't have a lot of time. I knew that 35 was at the door, and I didn't have any time. We had decided to start trying immediately we got married. So we've been trying, and it's not really been successful. We've gone through a lot of heartbreak, miscarriage. We've had failed IVF cycles. Basically, it's been a journey of heartbreak month after month. When you see your period, instead of you to be happy that at least you're seeing your period, I feel this sinking feeling in my heart, basically, every time I see my period. So I've been trying to be a mother for 6 years. I haven't been successful yet. But I'm eager to share my story, because there's a lot of us out there, a lot of women, African women, women of all colors that have gone through, that have experienced what I've experienced. And so hiding this journey is not going to help anyone. So that's basically the 411. That's just the basic story.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And did you guys seek treatment right away, or did you try at home first, naturally?
No, we didn't seek treatment at first. For the first 2 years of marriage, because we got married in 2014, in 2014 and 2015, we felt that we're healthy. I knew that I didn't have a lot of time, because I'd had a myomectomy like 8 years before. I'd removed a huge fibroid from my womb, basically, and so I was told by my doctor, my gynecologist at the time, that you need to get pregnant as soon as possible. So I knew I didn't have a lot of time when we first got married. And so I tried to encourage my husband to let us seek treatment, but he didn't think there was anything he didn't feel there was a problem. And so for the first 2 years of marriage, we didn't seek treatment. And even if we saw, I was the only one that went to the doctor. I was the only one that did all the tests. And even when the gynecologist insisted that he had to come in to do his own tests, it was an uphill battle. So no, for the first 2 years, we didn't seek fertility treatment. It was in the third year that my husband finally understood how important it was for us to consider that option. And so that's when we started.
Wow. Okay. And how and what kind of protocol were you on when you
Okay.
guys finally did go to your first consult and they did the full workup? Did they find any issues, being that you
Yeah.
had the
Oh,
myomectomy?
yes. Yeah, of course. Well, I let the gynecologist know about the myomectomy, and so they were like, okay, that is something to consider. So we need to check your tubes to be sure that they are not blocked. So I did a HSG, which was very painful. Oh my goodness. To see if my tubes are fine. The gynecologists were not eager to put us on a treatment to send us to fertility specialists yet. And so I was put on five different cycles of Clomid. For the first, I did Clomid for the first month, and we were put on timed intercourse. And when it didn't work, the gynecologist tried four more times, and it was after the fourth failed Clomid treatment that in 2020, towards the end of 2016, he told us that he advised us to seek a fertility treatment, that there was, and because of my age, the quality of my eggs were starting to drop slightly. So the gynecologist said, okay, 2017, I want you to consider to at least go to a fertility specialist, do some tests, find out how much it is, and decide if you want to go ahead. But I would advise you to do fertility treatment with a fertility specialist. And that is what we were going to do it. And then I got pregnant in 2016 in December. And so we're excited that, yes, it's finally happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a miscarriage about 3 months later. Well, a miscarriage. I don't know if you know what that is, sis. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, but you can go ahead and explain it just in case someone else
Okay.
doesn't. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so a miscarriage basically means that the fetus has stopped growing. The fetus doesn't have a heartbeat, but the fetus does not leave the body until a while later. So the fetus is already dead, but it hasn't left the body yet. So the woman still thinks she's pregnant, but she's not pregnant. She's not experiencing any pregnancy.
Any pregnancy symptoms? Okay.
Because according to the gynecologist, a fetus is not viable until it's 12 weeks. It's gotten past the 12-week mark. That's when they start to do things like scans and blood work and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the hospital that I was in did not agree to to a scan. I was so eager to hear my baby's heartbeat, but they refused to do a scan. So I changed hospitals, and after changing hospitals a number of times, I got to a private hospital that was eager to do a scan, at least to let me know how the baby was doing and all that, but there wasn't a heartbeat. And that's when they told me that, are you sure you're pregnant? And I was quite offended by that question. But they told me that there's a possibility that I've had a miscarriage, and my body is going to expel the fetus. It sounded so cold when the gynecologist was saying. It was a male gynecologist, and he said he was quite upset because this was my first pregnancy, and I felt he could have been nicer. But anyways, that's a story for another day. So I had a miscarriage, and we were told to hold off on any form of baby making until my body had healed, and they gave me 3 months to heal completely. And then after that, I was then encouraged to go to a fertility clinic, and that's when we did our first fertility treatment. It was so basically after that we've done 3 different cycles.
Mm-hmm.
3 cycles of IVF since then. They haven't been successful, unfortunately.
Wow. When you had the 3 unsuccessful cycles, were all of the embryos transferred back, or did you lose an baby?
Oh, well, for the first 2, unfortunately, the first 2 cycles, they were able to, harvest a large, at least between 14 and 15 eggs to use. And that was good news for me, but not one of them matured beyond the 5th day of maturity.
Okay.
When they were injected, most of them died before they reached maturity.
Mm-hmm.
And for the matured ones, when they were injected with my husband's semen, they didn't survive. But for the very first time we went to a different fertility clinic from the one that we used the first 2 cycles. And in the third one, for the very first time, the eggs, there were eggs that survived the 3-day growth period and got to day 5. And so there were eggs to transfer back into me. So the gynecologist the fertility specialist got 2 matured eggs with different varying quality to transfer back into my body. That was the last cycle I did. But unfortunately, they didn't attach to the lining of my womb, so a pregnancy did not happen.
Okay. Wow. You guys have really been through it, especially with all of the Clomid cycles that you were on prior to.
Yeah.
But I do remember you saying that they discovered your quality of eggs were starting to diminish as you got older. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. It's just, you get so many. You had a lot of eggs, so that was like, you go on this roller coaster where you're like, okay, maybe we'll get at least 10 or 5 or all of these things. And a lot of women I'm seeing that have connected with are getting large amounts of eggs, and the disappointment of any of them not surviving, or just 1 or 2 out of that 14 or 15 or more, not making it to the 5-day blastocyst stage. It's there's a lot of disappointment there. Was there any time during those 3 cycles, did you guys do it back to back, or did you take breaks and kind of regroup with one another?
Well, for the first 2 cycles, they weren't back to back, but there was 1 month of rest between the first and second cycle. For the third cycle, it took almost a year. I think not almost a year actually, before we decided to do the third cycle, which was in December last year. And the level of success that we experienced encouraged us. But it's a lot of money, sis. It's so expensive to do IVF. So we're taking a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I can only imagine. Yeah, definitely. And then with having COVID and everything, enforcing us to be at home more, which is good. You get to regroup emotionally and talk. Have some time to talk to God if you're spiritual or religious. And just trying to connect back with your spouse, because I think that a lot of times with infertility, we become so used to the train effect of it, and we can become disconnected intimate wise with our spouses. So it's a blessing and a curse, you know what I mean, at the same time. Wow,
it is.
Appreciate you so much, dear, for being here.
Thank you for listening.
Oh no, it's my absolute pleasure, and I just so glad that we were able to connect through social media, and because otherwise we would have never found each other. And
sure.
I just think that it's so important that, because I do have some listeners from different parts and different countries in Africa, and so I feel like with having you on, you're a voice for the African community there, and for also women of color here, whether it be South Asian descent or anything here in the U.S. And so I think it's going to be really powerful, and maybe some more women will come and speak up and give voice to their pain and suffering that they and their spouses are going through with infertility. And I wanted to ask you if there are any advocacy type groups in Nigeria, specifically where you are, for infertility.
Oh yes.
Or is it kind of like
yes.
How is it working there?
Oh, well, on social media, a number of women that are in my age group have created 1 or 2 social media groups that have to help women that have lost children. There's the Baby Haven. There is a Healing Cradle. So, but when it comes to counseling, that's the challenge, because I'm having a challenge even going for counseling concerning that miscarriage, and it happened 3 years ago. So.
But that's amazing, though. I'm so glad that other women in Nigeria and all over Africa are doing things to connect with one another, and so that nobody is silently suffering. I was a silent sufferer, so I know how important that is, and being able to connect with someone and have someone to relate to you and feel what you feel, and create sisterhood outside of our families who may not always understand. So that's amazing. And I appreciate you so very much, dear, for coming on and just being an advocate for women all over the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monique. Thanks for having me, and thank you for having this amazing podcast, because we need more podcasts like these.
Yeah, we definitely do. And representation is a big thing, especially, in communities where the topic is more taboo than others. So
exactly.
Excited for a road trip? Start it off right with auto coverage from American Family Insurance. J.D. Power ranked us number 1 in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance shopping experience among mid-size insurers. Get a quote at amfam.com.
American Family Insurance.
For J.D. Power 2021 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.